A very warm welcome. This is Armstrong here, working as Associate Professor, Department of Pharmacochemistry, Sangagiri Cell. Today we are going to see a topic called as cultivation, collection, processing and storage of crude drugs. So coming up for the introduction, the crude drugs which reach the market and the pharmaceutical industries will have passed through different stages that we are some having an effect on the nature or amount of the active constituents which is responsible for therapeutic activity. Those stages are to be concerned with more in order how to make a drug which is really useful for the mankind by all means. So these are the basic things that what we need to look into the cultivation and the collection process, driving and packaging and storage of drugs. So coming up for the advantages, it ensures the quality, the purity of the medicinal plants. If the uniformity is maintained only in all operations, we can able to develop or we can able to get a high quality of drugs. If the cultivated plants are kept free of weeds, the contamination of the drugs can be conveniently or necessarily avoided. The collection of crude drugs from the cultivated plants gives a better yield and a therapeutic quality. So the cultivation of medicinal and aromatic plants leads to a greater industrial revolution at a greater extent. The cultivation of a coffee or a cocoa in Kerala is given rise to several cottage of small-scale industries. The cultivation of cinchona in West Bengal also provides a greater industrial revolution. And the government-owned opium factory in Ghaziabad is one of the eloquent testimony to the significance of the plant cultivation of opium. So the cultivation permits the application of modern technology aspects such as commutation, polyploiding and hybridization. So coming up for the disadvantages, basically we have the losses or to occur the natural calamities like storms or an earthquakes, floods, droughts, snowfall and tsunamis like that, etc. And the cost of the production of crude drugs is also more as compared to the drugs collected from the wildlands. And wastage of land, labor and money is also required. So methods of plant propagation. So methods of plants can be propagated by two usual methods for medicinal and as well as non-medicinal plants or the crops. So these methods are referred as sexual methods and asexual methods. So each of these methods has a certain advantages and also got a certain disadvantages. Sexual methods of propagation. When the seed is used for rising seedling, the method is known as a sexual method of propagation. For the examples, you can see in acacia, cardamom, fennel and mustard. So coming up for the advantages with the sexual method of propagation, the seedlings will be long-lived, the plants bear more and better fruits. The plants are more sturdy, it means it will be very hard. The seedlings are comparatively very cheaper. And seedlings are easy to raise. In case of plants when other vegetative methods cannot be used, the propagation of seeds is the only method of choice. It is very easy and also for economical for storage. It requires less cost. The seeds can be easily transported to any place. Very few days are required for raising of the seedlings. And the new variety can be produced by means of hybridization and other techniques. So coming up for the disadvantages of the sexual method of propagation. Seedlings. So once you look at the seedlings, the trees are not uniform in growth. They require more time to bear fruits as compared with the grafted plants. And the cost of harvesting, the spraying, the pesticides is also more compared with the grafted trees. And due to the process of cross-pollination, the purity of the seed variety cannot be maintained evenly. So coming up for the other method of propagation, which was previously is asexual method. When the vegetative part of a plant, such as a root stem, or the leaf, which is used as such as an environment, it develops into a new plant. The method of vegetative propagation is known as an asexual method of propagation. For example, you can take it in grapes, where the seeds are used, and also in the pomegranates, ginger, and the other one is turmeric, where it is used in the rhizomes. Coming up for the advantages of an asexual method, the advantages due to the asexual method of propagation, there is no variation between the propagation of plants. The mother, say, it will be same, looking as same like a mother plants. The plants are uniform in growth, flowering, maturity, yield capacity. The uniformity in the case of quality of fruits makes the harvesting and the marketing easy. Seedless varieties of fruits can be propagated vegetatively. For example, you can take it in the grapes. These are called as parthenographic fruits. The plants start bearing earlier as compared with the seedling trees. Coming up for the budding or grafting encourages a disease-resistant variety of plants. So we saw that with advantages, now we are going to see some of the disadvantages due to the asexual method of propagation. In comparison with the seedling leaves, they are not vigorous in growth, they are not having a long lives, a new variety cannot be produced, evolved by this method. Asexual methods are, the vegetative propagation consists of three types. One is a natural type of vegetation, artificial one, and aseptic method, such as like the micropropagation, which is used in the plant tissue culture. So natural method of propagation, which is done by sowing the various parts of the trees or the plants prepared in the soil. The following are the examples like bulbs. You can take in squirrels or in garlic, tubers. You can take it in the potato, aconite, jalap, rhizomes. You can take it as the ginger, like turmeric, and stolons. A good example is licorice. The artificial method of propagation, the method which is used as a plantlets, the seedlings, which is produced by the vegetative part of the plant, using some techniques or the process, which is known as the artificial method of the vegetative propagation. These methods are classified under the cutting, the layering, the crafting. That's a new method which is very, very useful. Aseptic methods of micropropagation, like when you take it in our tissue culture, it's a novel method of novel one for the propagation of the medicinal plants. In the micropropagation, the plants are developed in an artificial medium under the aseptic conditions from the fine piece of plants like single cells, or you can take in the callus one, seeds, the embryo, root tips, or the shoot tips, or the pollen grains. They also provided with the natural and the hormonal requirements. So methods of irrigation, basically we think the water is a very important one for the cultivation. After studying the availability of requirement of water for the specific crop, one has to design the own irrigation system for a reasonable cost. First, the following methods are the hand watering, economical and easy to operate; flood watering, easy to operate, but the results in the wastage of water; boom watering, easy to operate but restricted its utility; drip irrigation, that's a scientific one and systematic one and easy to operate; sprinkler irrigation, which is a costly and gives good results. So coming up for the collection of drugs. The collection is the most important step which comes after the cultivation. The drugs are collected from the wild or the cultivated plants and passed for collection. Depends upon the collector whether he is skilled or unskilled. The drug should be collected when the contains the maximum amount of constituent in a higher scientific manner. The reason at which the drug is collected is so important as amount, and sometimes the nature of the active constituents could be changed throughout the year. For example, the rhubarb is collected only in the summer season because no anthraquinone derivatives will be present in the rhubarb when you collect it in the winter season. But no anthrols will be collected or converted to anthraquinones during the summer. Not only the season but also the age of plant should be taken into the greater consideration, since it governs not only the total amount of the active constituents but produced in the plant, but also the proportions of the active mixtures of the active constituents. The reduction of this percentage of haploids in the datura as the plant ages, examples of aging plants. The next important one is drying methods. Before going to marketing, it's very, very necessary for proper drying. It also preserves the longer time and also acquire a better pharmaceutical elegance or the higher active ingredients. This process includes several operations or treatments depending upon the source of the crude drug whether it's an animal one or the plant one, it's chemical nature. Drying consists of a removal of a sufficient moisture content of crude drugs so as to improve the quality and make a resistant to the growth of microorganisms. Drying inhibits partially an enzymatic reactions. Drying also facilitates or paralyzing the grinding of the crude drugs. It is in certain drugs, some special methods are required to be followed to attain the specific standards like slicing or the cutting, which makes a smaller pieces of the crude drug, which also enhances the drying in case of Glyceria glabra. The flowers are dried in shade so that it retains their color and their volatility. So depending upon the type of chemical constituents, we have got two types of drying, one is a natural and then the artificial one. In case of natural drying, it may be either direct sun drying or in the shade. If the natural color of the drug, like in the digitalis or clove or senna, the volatile principles of the crude drug are to be retained, or drying in the shade is preferred. If the contents of the crude drug are quite stable in the temperature of the sun, or in the drugs can be directly dried in the sunshade, like acacia seeds and the fruits. Coming up for the artificial drying. Drying may be artificial means it includes drying in the oven or tray dryers, vacuum dryers or spray dryers. Tray dryers are one of the common things which do not contain, these drugs cannot be used for volatile oils because it's quite stable to heat, which is having a deactivation of enzymes and the tritiates. In the process of hot air, desired temperature is circulated through the dryers, and this facilitates the removal of the water content of the two drugs. Example is belladonna, cinchona bark, senn, tea and raspberry leaves. The gums are dried in this method. Vacuum dryers. These dryers are which are sensitive for the higher temperatures and also for dried as a process. For example, the tannic acid and digitalis. Spray dryers, for example, they are very high sensitive to the atmospheric condition, also the temperature of the own drying, spray drying methods. These techniques followed by the quick drying, which is economically important for the plant and also for the animal constituents rather than the crude drugs. Examples of spray dryers like papaya latex, pectins and tannins. An expensive method compared to the natural and so next important method is packing of the crude drugs. The morphological and chemical nature of the drug is ultimate use in the effect of climatic conditions. During the transportation and the storage to be taken into consideration while packing the crude drugs. For example, you can take the mallows, colophony, and also you can take some of the like cod liver oil being a sensitive to sunlight should be stored in the containers to have the sunlight. And also some drugs which is very effective for the moisture. For examples like digitalis, ergot and squill. Coming up with the storage of the crude drugs, a good quality of crude drugs should be maintained and it should be preserved properly. All these drugs should be preserved in a well-closed container, possibly in a filled containers. They should be stored in the good premises like waterproof or the fireproof or the rodent proof. And a number of drugs absorb the nature during the storage and susceptible to the microorganisms. The moisture is not only increases the bulk of the crude drug but also causes an impartment, that's a reduction in the quality of the crude drugs. The excessive moisture facilitates enzymatic reaction resulting in the decomposition of active constituents. Like example, we can take it as a digitalis, wild cherry bar, gentian and ergot receives a mold infestation due to the excessive moisture. I'm coming up for the last. Thank you.